So today I'm going to talk about sugar addiction. Not only am I going to talk about sugar addiction, but I'm going to talk about sugar itself and how we are prone to eating sugar and how oftentimes we don't even realize how much sugar we're taking in. The average American takes in an astonishing 160 pounds of sugar each and every year. And that is on average. 1 in 3 Americans end up with diabetes of some sort, and that is because of the overconsumption of sugar. And one of the most astonishing details of all, which I will show you during our presentation today, is that sugar is 6 times more addictive than even cocaine. This is something that we are driven to because it tastes good. It's something that food manufacturers are aware of, and they continue to make foods that have sugars, contain sugars with up to 70, more than 70 different types of names for sugar that are ambiguous to the buyer. And so therefore you are out shopping, thinking you're purchasing a healthy product, when in fact you are just contributing to your sugar addiction. I'm also going to talk about how much sugar is okay and when it's not okay to consume sugar, and how you can reduce the amount of sugar that you're taking in. So I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation and go through each slide here. Okay, so starting out, sugar. It is an addiction. Americans are highly addicted to this substance because it tastes good. It's fun, it's tantalizing, and it is in 80% of the products out there. Even products that you don't really expect to find sugar in. There is sugar. Even healthy items such as natural things, such as fruit, contain sugar. And that's where it gets a little tricky because fruits are healthy. However, overconsumption of fruit can contribute to the addiction and also gaining weight. So it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. You've seen me share this slide before. The only thing that I've changed about this is that I've interjected that there are 70 different names for sugar, which I'm going to reveal some of those a little bit later. They're mislabeled in grocery stores. If you're watching this at home, I encourage you to grab any item that you might have on your shelves, and you will find for sure multiple names on your shelves with these ambiguously written items. Many of them are even quick fix diet foods where you are assuming that you are getting yourself healthy, but indeed you're buying something that is laced with sugar. They mask themselves with buzzwords that the consumer thinks might be healthy. And I'm going to really show you today what to look for and how not to be a target. So sugar, it's not as harmless as you think. Can you really be hooked on sugar? Oftentimes I will have people say to me, well, I don't have a sugar problem. I really don't eat that much sugar, until we start logging, and we start really analyzing how much sugar we take in. Some people use sugary foods in ways that aren't healthy, even though it might not be an actual addiction. Some signs that you might be hooked are you crave it, or you lose control when you do have it and you eat more than you have planned. So if you're somebody that says that you have to have something sweet after a meal, you're craving it. If you're somebody that needs to have that little bite of something, even if it's something small, you're craving it. And oftentimes when you can't stop at that one little bite, then you might be someone that is hooked on it. It's always hard to accept the fact that you might be hooked on it. So really, really examine how hooked you are. If you can't live without it, then you very possibly might be hooked. So quick sugar highs. So this is what happens when you have sugar. You get that rush. You have that midday slump after you eat. Your insulin levels kind of drop. So we reach for sugar, and it might not actually be something that's sweet. It might actually be a simple carbohydrate. This is glucose in your bloodstream. Your blood sugar levels will spike. And just like you see here in this graph, you see the little arrow that's down low. Someone consumes a carbohydrate, and boom, it shoots up there. Um, Simple carbs could be found in fruits, vegetables, dairy products. So on the diet that you are on, the meal plan that you're on, we emphasize complex carbs. Complex carbs are not going to spike your blood sugar. So our carbs that we eat, and you notice on FitnessPal that don't contain sugars, you might see carbohydrate, but you won't see sugar in that column. Those will not have that same reaction. Fruits, vegetables, dairy products will. And it's really up to you as to which ones you choose to determine how high the sugar levels are. But these also have fiber and protein that slow down the process. So, for example, the reason that on your meal plan you see berries and you see avocados and you see apples a lot is because there is a lot of fiber in those fruits and vegetables. And the fiber and protein levels are going to slow down the process of the sugar. So for example, 1 cup of blackberries might contain 20 grams of sugar, but 15 grams of fiber. So the 15 grams of fiber is going to slow down that insulin spike on the 20 grams of sugar. So those are safer to eat because you're not going to get that spike. However, syrup, candy, soda, regular sugar will not have that effect, and you're going to get that spike. So what happens when you get that spike? Well, what goes up must come down. Your body needs to move that glucose out of your blood system and into your cells for energy. To do this, your pancreas needs to make insulin, which is a hormone, and as a result, your blood sugar level might suddenly drop. This rapid change in blood sugar usually causes people to feel tired and wiped out. And if you have an issue, if you're diabetic, you're going to feel shaky even, and or you're going to look for more sweets to get that sugar high again. So that midday sugary treat that has you convinced that you need to have that sugar in the middle of the day because you're craving it, that's actually just your body responding to the habitual intake of sugar. You have given it sugar, it has gotten out of that slump, and it knows that sugar is the way to get you energized. However, it is not the right way to get you energized. So that midday sugary treat has you set up for more bad eating. So starch, however, can also equal sugar. So if you don't have a sweet tooth, but you're craving bagels and chips and French fries, these starchy foods, which are your complex carbs, will eventually break down into simple sugars. So this is very, very important for all of you that are carb phobic and you are afraid of eating too many carbs. This program is designed to have a certain amount of carbs in their complex carbs. As long as you don't go over that amount per meal, your body will not break down the complex carbs into simple sugars. And your body will disperse it. It will burn it, especially if you pair it up with a protein and a fat. That is why this program works. Because if you're going to eat a bagel, it's going to only have the right amount of carbohydrates, and it is not going to turn into a sugar. If you sit down with a bowl of pasta, like perhaps you may used to do, that bowl of pasta for sure has more than your 40 grams of carbs, which is going to then break down into a simple sugar, which is the same thing as eating a candy bar. And then you're going to crash. You're going to have that spike, and then you're going to have that crash. So the reason why carbs are noted as being not diet friendly is because we don't know how to eat them. And anybody that's been successful on my program understands that eating the right amount of carbs paired up with the protein and the fat will provide the energy that you need without the overage. And the overage is what we need to worry about. So what about that overage? What about the chips? These aren't sugars. They're not. These don't taste sweet. They might have traces of sugar in them, but these are technically carbohydrates. Why are these considered a starch? Why are these not favorable? Well, this is the bottom line. There is a ton of research that goes into the flavor, the size, the texture of every single one of these products. It is a highly researched data field. It is not a coincidence that when you put these potato chips in your mouth, those little ridges that the salt sits on, that are amazing and they crack in your mouth, that has been researched for years and years and years by food scientists and food biologists and psychologists to know what is going to cause you to want to keep eating. I think it might have been even Jay's potato chips that even had their logo say, once you start, you can't stop. I don't remember exactly what that was. Same thing with the cheese puffs. You know, it was not a coincidence that they do what they do in your mouth, between the flavor, the salt, the size, down to how they feel in your hand. That has all been researched. So it's really difficult to stop at that 40 grams. And more so, you're eating this with more than likely a sandwich, which contains a carb. So now you've gone over. So even if you haven't had sugar per se, if your sandwich bread is 40 carbohydrates, and then you throw in your Cheetos, which has another 40 carbohydrates, your body is not going to burn the 80 carbohydrates. It's going to burn the 40, more than likely, because that's the typical limit. And it's going to take the remaining 40, which is the overflow. It's going to turn that into a simple sugar, which is the same thing as eating table sugar. And it is going to create that desire to want to eat more sugar. Again, the spike, the drop. Strikes are against you. It's really, really difficult because we are basically being programmed to keep eating, and it's difficult. Your brain on sugar. This is probably the most astonishing thing that I learned when I was researching sugar. Sugar fuels every cell in your brain. Your brain also sees sugar as a reward. It's pleasurable, which makes you want more. If you often eat a lot of sugar, you are reinforcing that reward. So the more you eat, the more you need to eat. It is something that you build a resistance for. So if you are somebody that doesn't eat a lot of sugar, a little bit goes a long way, but then you are now needing to have more each time. You're raising the bar on the amount of sugar that you need, which is creating the problem. And now it's that much harder to break that habit, which is exactly why it is a perpetual cycle. So I'm gonna go through this little graph here. One, you eat sugar. If you like it, you crave it. It has addictive properties. Number two, your blood sugar levels spike. Dopamine is released. And so I've talked about dopamine before. Dopamine is released from the frontal cortex of your brain, and that is the feel-good hormone. It is a neurotransmitter that is pleasurable, and you love it, which causes you to want more. Mass insulin is secreted, and then what goes up must come down. Your blood sugars plummet, and you are wanting more, which takes us to number three. It is the high insulin levels cause an immediate fat storage because now you've eaten more and you're over that amount that you're really allowed to have. And when I say allowed, I mean that your body is able to burn. And so that overage basically turns to fat. Your body's not able to burn it all. And so now the sugars have turned to fat. And your body wants more sugar. So the cycle continues. So now we're on to number four. You're hungry, you have sugar cravings, your low blood sugar levels have created this cycle of you wanting more sugar. And it just keeps on going, keep on going. But now each time you take a trip around this little block, you need more sugar because initially maybe one sugar cube was enough in your coffee, but now it's not sweet enough. You need two. And then around you go, you need three. And so it needs to be sweetened up each and every time. But now our insulin levels are creating an overabundance of storage, which is basically body fat. This next picture is shocking, but this is your brain. This is the release of dopamine after consuming sugar, and you could see the neurotransmitter here. And this is the release of dopamine after somebody has done a cocaine. So you can see here that the dopamine release is parallel. And so when somebody is a cocaine addict, they do the cocaine, they get the dopamine release, which is their high. They come down from their high and they're seeking that high again. So they go right back to the cocaine or whatever their substance is. So they get that high again, and it's perpetual, keeps going round and round and round. So it's really hard to break the cycle. 85% of Americans are sugar dependent. 60% don't know it. This causes weight gain and diabetes. Your pancreas can only keep up for so long, and then it's going to tank out. So not only are you going to have weight gain, but you're going to have lifelong health issues. $72 billion in sales in 2019 in just supplements, meal replacements, convenience bars, and weight loss support. $70 different sugar names can be found in all of these. All of those meal replacements, all of those supplements, all of those protein bars. Look at those labels. They're sweet. Something is sweetening them. It is sugar. So how do you tackle this? Eat real food, of course. 1 cup of Greek yogurt, fruit and crunch, 25 grams of protein, easily solved. Well, the Greek yogurt has to be plain because if it's not plain, it's going to contain sugar. Here we have some blueberries. Blueberries are amongst the lowest in sugar because of the fiber count. Well, oftentimes there's consumer confusion. And no matter how often I tell people this, I still have people that will get caught up in the confusion. This is what we look at. I just got off the phone with somebody who is making the same mistake. You look at the big numbers, 80, that stands out, 80. You look at the word light and fit, whoa, big letters. You look at the word Greek, that's a buzzword. This product here, believe it or not, is loaded in sugar. Here's another one, Greek yogurt. You're only looking at the Greek yogurt. It's got vanilla in it. Sure, it's plain because it's white, but it is vanilla. And if you don't look at the label, you won't realize that this has as much sugar as vanilla ice cream. Another one. The Greek yogurt aisle or yogurt aisle is loaded with this example. I pick on it often because it's so easy to pick on. There are very few Greek yogurts that are appropriate, and it's because nobody buys them. It has to be plain Greek yogurt. And if you look at the labels of all of these, and you look at the label of this slow churned cookie dough ice cream, the amount of sugar is parallel, 12 grams. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but again, that 12 grams of sugar is going to cause that insulin spike, which is going to cause you to want more sugar, which is going to cause you to have this perpetual cycle. And then you aren't going to know why you're not losing weight. You're not going to know why you keep wanting sugar. And this is why. So these labels probably all look familiar to you, the buzzwords. So I thought I could share with you some of the buzzwords so that you are aware of them. So these are the top trending ones. And I don't want you to think for 1 minute that these aren't sugar, because they are. Again, there's over 70 of them, but these are the top ones. Honey, that is sugar. I realize it's not a form of actual pure cane sugar, but it is sugar. It will spike your blood sugar level. Agave or agave nectar, fruit juice, any fruit juice at all. So if you see something that says sweetened with natural fruit juice, that is still sugar. Molasses, coconut sugar. That's a big one right now. You will pick up cookies and it'll say no sugars added, but you'll see coconut sugar. That is the biggest buzzword out there because it is no different than sugar. Cane sugar is just sugar, but putting the word cane in front of it makes it seem so much more appealing, healthy. Brown rice sugar, again, same example. It's sugar. We're dressing it up by putting the word brown rice in front of it. And then I actually added the full 75 on here because some of these just made me laugh. Beet sugar, so they extract sugar from beets. And again, this is no different than fruit sugar. And if you look at a lot of these, fruit juice, pancake syrup, palm sugar, maple syrup, many of these don't even look like they resemble a sugar. So if you see treacle on something, you're not going to know what that is. You're going to assume it's something else. Well, it is actually sugar. So be very careful with this. So keywords: protein, you want carbs, but you want to stay away from sugar. You want fats, but you want monosaturated fats. Those are the healthy fats as we know them. And you want to always look at the ingredients, because the ingredients don't lie. And if you don't know the name of something, you can, of course, always run it through Google. $2 billion in sales of protein bars in 2019. 70% of them equal in sugar as much as a candy bar. They're 4 times the cost. Ingredients are not approved by the FDA, and they're making Americans gain more weight. These are quick fixes and medical interventions. Again, it's that mindset piece of you're eating a bar that you think is healthy, but if it has as much sugar in it as an actual candy bar, you're not doing yourself a favor. Let's talk about fruit sugar, better known as fructose. I realize, again, I always feel like I'm being unkind to nature when I say that you have to watch your fruit intake. But biggest example is one seedless watermelon. And I realize you're not going to eat an entire seedless watermelon in one sitting, but if you are a watermelon lover, you very well might eat a seedless watermelon, such as this size, over the course of a week. Has 280 grams of sugar. And I like to keep people at about 35 grams a day, 30 to 35 grams in a day. So that just goes to show you how much higher in content that this is. So a typical wedge of watermelon is going to have about 35 to 40, and most people can eat that in one bite. A bowl of cherries, 150 calories for about 30 cherries and 20 grams of sugar. And I know that doesn't sound horrible, but again, if I like to keep people at about 30 to 35 for a day, and you're eating 150 in a bowl of cherries, and keep in mind that includes pitted cherries, 30 goes by really, really quick. And by the way, that's the same amount of sugar as my favorite candy bar. So putting that into perspective, sugar is still sugar. And eating endless amounts of fruit, especially fruit that is higher in sugar, you're going to see the effects of that. So what are the best ways to eliminate sugar from your diet? Well, first off, I'm not suggesting that you swipe it out completely. If you're somebody that experiences sugar cravings, if you're somebody that can't stop eating sugar when you start eating it, then this is perhaps a good time to eliminate. If you are somebody that has the willpower and control to have a bite of a bar, a little candy bar, or one of the healthy recipes that I have that isn't going to affect your progress, then you don't need to worry about this. But it becomes a slippery slope when you find yourself craving it, when you find yourself needing it, when you find yourself justifying your reasons for why you must have a little something sweet, then you should maybe look into eliminating. And once you do, it's out. You won't crave it, you won't want it, you won't even think about it. Okay, so first off, cut out sugary drinks. Our sodas, our drinks, just in general, contain sugar. I have here a LaCroix. LaCroix do not contain sugar, but some of the newer ones, and I don't have the names of them, but some of the newer ones do have sugar. You have to look at the labels. They might contain fruit juice, and it might say on there sweetened naturally. And so you're going to grab that thinking this is great, but if you look at the label and it contains 6 grams of sugar, that is a sugar, and you don't want it. You don't want to waste you're drinking on sugar. You want to eliminate desserts that contain sugar, of course, even if it's just one. Don't have it built into your day. Oftentimes we must have it. It's something that we seek out every single day. Change your mindset on that. Have it be a treat instead. You want to read all labels and definitely watch sauces. Sauces typically are the hidden gem of sugars. Teriyaki sauces, ketchup. I should have added the picture that I have of a ketchup bottle. I have an image of a ketchup bottle. I guess if this was a ketchup bottle, my hand sanitizer. If you just Google the words ketchup and sugar, and it'll come up in images. They have a ketchup bottle, and then right next to it, they have another ketchup bottle, and they show how much sugar is in it, and it's half full of sugar. So you're eating a lot of sugar. And now there's a lot of barbecue sauces and a lot of sauces that are lower in sugar. So definitely take advantage of those. That's kind of a newer trend. You want to use full fat items instead of reduced fat because of the hidden sugar. So for example, reduced fat ranch, reduced fat cottage cheeses, all that are going to have higher sugars. So when it comes to your yogurts, don't do the fat-free. First off, you want to have that fat. It's going to help sustain your hunger. This is not a low-fat diet. This is a balanced diet, and they replace the additives with sugars, and you'll see that right on the label. You want to eat whole food and real food. Again, the bars that we eat, the convenience foods, typically are laced with sugar. Number 6, you want to avoid or examine canned or processed foods. Canned food, again, preservatives that they add typically are full of sugar or some form of sugar. Definitely you want to include protein and fat. If you're going to eat a starchy carb, and you should know this being on my program, you want to pair it with a protein and a fat. Number 8, use natural sweeteners, and I don't mean natural meaning fruit. There are some natural sweeteners such as monk fruit, stevia, erythritol, and xylitol. These are sugars that will not spike your insulin levels. These are typically created and made for diabetics. They taste sweet. It's like a sugar alcohol. You might have seen that on labels, but overconsumption of the erythritol and xylitol could create stomach discomfort. So you want to kind of watch that. And finally, number 9, don't cave to the temptation. When you are swiping the sugar from your diet and you start feeling crabby, tired, headaches, moody, 10 days, you will be a changed person. And getting the sugar out of your diet not only will help you lose weight, but it will free you from needing to have that sugar all the time. I know from personal experience, I struggled with sugar, needing it, having to have it after each meal. I would go grocery shopping and buy my little Hershey Kisses or my little Dove Squares, and I would tell myself I would have one, and then one would turn to 12 or an endless amount. And again, once I learned about that dopamine and that spiking, I got rid of it. And I consciously watch to make sure that I'm within my limits. You have that 40 grams of complex carbs, keep it within that. And you'll find that if you do that, you won't go over. So hopefully you understood the complexities of the sugar addiction, and it is definitely more addictive than cocaine. So start reading those labels. Give yourself a little something sweet without going overboard, and you'll be glad. Sugar habit. Enjoy your day.